Midnight here with another special report. Batman the Animated Series was a neo-noir Art Deco masterpiece, a paragon of storytelling, character development, and a thick gothic atmosphere. Tim Burton's Batman kicked off a new renaissance for The Dark Knight, and the animated series took the ball and ran with it, setting the benchmark for all future Batman media. That included the style which would come to be known as Dark Deco. The show's big screen triumph, Mask of the Phantasm, took it one step further, drawing prime inspiration from the 1939 New York World's Fair, a glorious vision of the future fortified by American ingenuity, rational thought, and Art Deco design. Thus, we get the Gotham World's Fair, a near-perfect facsimile of New York's world of tomorrow. But the two have been intertwined for a lot longer than people realize. Batman first appeared in Detective Comics in May of 1939, incidentally the same year the New York World's Fair opened. That was almost certainly coincidental, but seeing as how the world of tomorrow inspired generations of futurists, industrialists, and artists, it makes sense that Gotham's facsimile would have a lasting impression on Bruce Wayne. But let's rewind a bit. When Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski first pitched the Batman animated series in 1990, they intentionally strayed from Tim Burton's gothic operatic rendition of Gotham and embraced the elegance of old New York City, most of which was designed in the Art Deco style. The Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Plaza, and lots more. Art Deco was heavily influenced by the bold geometric forms of Cubism, and this early 20th century artistic movement came to symbolize wealth, luxury, and romantic notions of technological grandeur. It personified man's ability to create a new utopia built on the altar of industrial innovation. Naturally, the abject horror of World War II buried these utopian ideals, and Art Deco faded from prominence, but not before influencing a slew of visionaries and creative endeavors, including Batman the Animated Series. This intersection between Art Deco and the Caped Crusader would be premeditated, and Batman wore his inspiration in his square jaw, hard lines, and the geometric jungle of Gotham City. And just to underline the brooding atmosphere, Batman's showrunners layered the animation atop black paper versus traditional white, adding a dark sense of foreboding. The effect was otherworldly, but at the same time, it was the most faithful rendition of the city that never sleeps. The animated Batman's big screen debut, Mask of the Phantasm, carried over the art style from the series, including a stunning CG opening that against all odds matches the hand-drawn animation perfectly. Mask of the Phantasm needs to go bigger and better, and we got that, with the higher production values showcasing the set pieces, the sound design, and the landscapes. The plot has higher stakes befitting a feature-length movie, and the show's in-house maestro, Shirley Walker, got a full orchestra to interpret her legendary score. A lot of TV shows, animated or otherwise, making a transition to the big screen just feel like longer episodes, but Mask of the Phantasm felt more expansive and profound than a 20-minute chapter. And appropriately, it would use one of the grandest galas of the 20th century as both setting and metaphor. Mask of the Phantasm is loosely based on the Year 2 comic, with several lines and motifs lifted directly from the page.
A lot of people, including the police I might add, think Batman's as unstable as the crooks he brings in.
But the movie quickly establishes his own identity, and Mask of the Phantasm would be the first film to really explore Batman's formative years. Even by 1993, his origin story was old hat, but Mask of the Phantasm showed us the dawn of Bruce Wayne's crime-fighting career, when he tussled with bad guys but hadn't yet established a Dark Knight persona that would strike fear into the hearts of criminals everywhere. The movie shows us that gradual transition, along with Bruce slowly coming to grips with the future that he chose for himself when he put on the cape and cowl. We also see his first-grade love, Andrea Beaumont, and as he gets closer to her, Bruce finds the elusive happiness he never expected or planned for after his parents' death. Bruce is racked with guilt, seeing his crime-fighting crusade, his sacred vow to his parents, as a hurdle to his future with Andrea. Spoiler alert, they don't work out, but all of this comes by a flashback and we're left to figure out why exactly Andrea jilted Bruce. In the present, Andrea suddenly reappears in Gotham, rekindling old feelings in Bruce and setting the plot in motion. One of the biggest themes in Mask of the Phantasm is what could have been. We see Bruce Wayne the closest he ever came to leading a normal life, And obviously it doesn't work out, otherwise there won't be a Batman, but we get to see Bruce's idealized future come crumbling down in slow, excruciating detail. And that's where the New York World's Fair comes in, adapted here as the Gotham World's Fair. When the fair was first proposed in 1934, the country was still in the throes of the Great Depression, and like the 1933 Chicago World's Fair, the hope was that a New York World's Fair would galvanize a citizenry stricken by the worst fiscal disaster in the nation's history. With any luck, it'd also stimulate the local economy, the Chicago World's Fair having drummed up around $400 million in business for the Windy City. It was to be a dream city of the future, the pinnacle of all inspiration. And with tensions brewing in Europe, it would bring the world together in a shimmering utopia filled with technological grandeur and peace on Earth. Of course, we all know what happened next. Less than 5 months after the fair's opening, Germany invaded Poland, kicking off the most destructive conflict in human history and casting a dark cloud over Flushing Meadows. On opening day, 2 of the pavilions represented countries that, for all intents and purposes, didn't exist: Austria and Czechoslovakia. By fair's end, Belgium, Denmark, France, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, among others, had fallen to the Krauts. During the fair's second season in 1940, a terrorist bombing killed 2 police officers, and the fair itself would end in bankruptcy, the dream city bereft by the crushing reality of World War II and economic uncertainty. But at the outset, the fair's organizers truly believed it could provide an inspiring antidote to the looming threat of war, particularly since tyrants like Stalin, Mussolini, and Tojo all sponsored pavilions at the fair. And while Nazi Germany pulled out last minute, Deutschland itself was represented. The fair's organizer, former New York Police Commissioner Grover Whalen, truly brought in to the fair's inspiring message of peace. In the run-up to the fair, Whalen went on a global PR tour to drum up interest in what would become known as the world of tomorrow. Ever the optimist, Whalen concluded that my personal investigation in Europe has conclusively proved to me that there will be no war. A wave of enthusiasm for the World's Fair is sweeping Europe. That's what Europe is thinking of now, not war. When a reporter asked him, wouldn't a European war completely ruin the fair, Whalen said there'll be no war. That's newspaper talk. The fair will be 3 times the size of 1933's Century of Progress, and if nothing else, it would bequeath to the city a permanent park. The fair would be built on the foul-smelling trash heap known as Flushing Meadows Corona Park, or just the Corona Dumps. And after the owner and operator of the Corona Dumps, John Fishhooks McCarthy, sold it to the city for $2.8 million, the fair was a go. The park that replaced it was a majestic wonder of architecture and natural beauty, and the fair would elevate it to new heights of splendor. The fair was divided into 7 zones, showcasing futuristic gadgets, technology, and urban landscapes. Visitors beheld high-tech wonders like RCA's Living Room of Tomorrow, where a facsimile device transmitted the New York Herald Tribune at a rate of 1 page every 18 minutes. We've come a long way since then. Majestic exhibits showcased revolutionary technologies like nylon fabric, the Viewmaster, Centovision, early TVs, and a lot more. The fair held the world's first science fiction convention, and the fairgrounds were dominated by the architectural majesty of the Trilon and the Perisphere. Everything about the fair forecasted a gleaming technological utopia, a better life to come. So you can see how it would serve as a fitting metaphor for Bruce Wayne and Andrea Beaumont. The cultural critic, Doug Walker, aka the nostalgia critic, summed it up rather succinctly.
This might be my favorite setting for the film, as it shows the young, optimistic hopefulness of the future, contrasted later with the dark, corrupt present we eventually get.
And just as the New York, and by extension Gotham World's Fair, fell into disrepair and ruin, so did Bruce and Andrea's relationship, and in a larger sense the city of Gotham. But the connections between Mask of the Phantasm and the New York World's Fair aren't just of the metaphorical variety. There were the shared themes, New York's world of tomorrow and Gotham's world of the future. When Bruce and Andrea enter the fair, they're greeted by rousing proclamations straight out of 1939.
This is a vision of the shimmering utopia, where we shall all spend the rest of our lives.
Inside, there's an exhibit called The House of Tomorrow, featuring a robotic housemaid. And while there's no direct real-life parallel, the New York World's Fair did feature a 7-foot, 250-pound robot named Electro, who could walk, talk, count, sing, smoke, and even lob insults like "my brain is bigger than yours." At the Gotham World's Fair, Bruce also comes upon a futuristic vehicle which would eventually inspire the Batmobile. In this case, Mask of the Phantasm seemingly borrowed the overall vibe of 1964 New York World's Fair, which leaned heavily on Googie architecture, a futurist style heavily influenced by space-age cars and jets. But the most direct parallel between Mask of the Phantasm and the 1933 New York World's Fair was the latter's Futurama exhibit. GM's Futurama was a 36,000 square foot scale model of an American landscape as they imagined it look in 1960. The 18-minute ride simulated a flight of several hundred miles over mountains, countryside, industrial centers, farms, and half a dozen towns and cities, all of it equipped with cutting-edge technology and architecture. Naturally, this General Motors exhibit of a luminous, futuristic American landscape included a 14-lane superhighway. Because of course it did. At the tail end of Futurama, riders got off into a life-size replica of the scene they had just flown over, and visitors were delighted. This $7 million vision of the future was by far the most popular attraction into New York World's Fair, pulling in 30,000 visitors per day and earning rave reviews from newspapers and critics. The Gotham World's Fair facsimile of Futurama would serve as a key set piece, with the climactic battle taking place within the futuristic scale model city. And the final destruction of Gotham's world of the future underscores the sad fate of Bruce and Andrea and the tragic end to the New York World's Fair. In the end, the New York World's Fair took in around $48 million and spent $67 million, for a net loss of $19 million. But even that was overshadowed by the cataclysmic war that engulfed the Earth. And while Andrea Beaumont survives the events of the movie, she's left all alone, and Bruce Wayne is reminded that his path of vengeance has precluded any hope of a normal life. Thanks for joining me for another special report. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my televisual program, and I'll see you next time. This is Jimmy Midnight signing off.